Good evening, everyone, and happy Sunday night from Unlock the Middle, where we bring you the best in educational resources that we have out there. My name is Dean Packard. I'm the principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts. And alongside me tonight, I have Josh Toba from Texas. Josh, I'll tell you what a great day. Happy 4th of July to all of you out there right now. I hope you guys are spending time with family and friends and doing the things that are just fun for you. Again, I'm just super excited tonight. We had a great guest once again. We're going to continue to build upon the capacity of others out there. Josh, how are you, my friend? Great to see you.
Doing fabulous here. Officially started my summer break. That's 5 days long, 1 week, and then we go back into a new contract.
Only 5 days?
5 days, that's it, and then we start all over again. So we're packing tonight to take off over there to the Sunshine State, Florida.
Tomorrow, good for you guys.
Oregon. So we'll see how that goes. Enjoy the beaches over there, see what's going on. Probably run into Otis or run into Joe over there. Let's see if we make some time to visit that part of Florida. But in the end, you know what? We're part of the Fantastic Four, making sure that it's a free PD weekend. So you might be relaxing out at the beach, San Padre Beach, South Padre Beach, whatever, wherever you might be. But you know what? If you have a little bit of time over your break, check out these free podcasts all over the United States so that you have new tools, whether it be from Alaska all the way to Hawaii, from Maine to Florida, or the way in the middle. We all have capacity to expand our tool chest. And these free podcasts, this kind of weekend, will only ensure your success, not only your success, but our student success as we enter the 22-23 school year. And we're ready to rock and roll with a lot of strategies today, Dean. We have an awesome author and speaker ready to make sure he brings up sharpening those tools for us as educators.
We talk about sharpening those tools all the time and how important that is in our careers and what we do. And again, iron sharpens iron, Josh. We talk about that all the time. And when we bring people on who know what they're doing, it just makes us all a little bit better. And John is not going to disappoint anybody tonight, not only an author, but a speaker and somebody who gets the leadership role from a whole different lens. So why don't we bring him in? Let's have some fun with John tonight. What do you think, Josh?
Let's go, Josh.
Let's go. It's Independence Weekend, baby. John, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend? How are things?
You guys are intimidating me with your energy right now.
Don't let that fool you.
Josh is fired up about his 4.9 days left of vacation.
Exactly.
I still don't understand why he only gets 5 days of vacation during the summer. Something's wrong with that picture.
Well, it'll be 4.8 by the end of the show. It's just shrinking away.
You're probably right, John. You're absolutely probably right. Hey, John, tell our audience a little bit about you, what you do, where you've been, and what makes you you.
Well, I hope the bottom line for me is school was not my jam. I was a 2.9 GPA student all the way through. And so I've kind of encapsulated that into a formerly disgruntled student. Like, I didn't like school. And for me, really, teaching is therapy. Here's a fun fact, you guys. A human life is around 750,000 hours. So when you take a 20,000 kid school district times 10 days, that's about 200,000 hours. Correct? Am I doing pretty good?
Sounds about right.
If you go for a little over a month, that is one human lifetime of time spent collectively by students and teachers in classrooms. And so one of the things that drives me is really, how can we maximize that time instead of kind of frittering it away? So school was not my jam. The first thing I remember about kindergarten was I was the only kid that couldn't tie my shoes. I'm a July 1 birthday. So if I was in Josh's district, I'd be in school tomorrow. And I was just barely 5, and I was comparing myself to 6-year-olds. And my perception was, I'm not good at this. And then in first and second grade, I can remember the gummy stars, the blue and the gold. Well, what I learned in first and second grade was John never had gold. I had lots of reds and a few blues. And school just kind of went like that for me all the way through. And then I got really lucky. I married a pretty cool chick. We've been married 32 years now, I think. And she convinced me that I should go into teaching. And I thought it sounded fun from the point of view of like going to camp every day. And my whole perspective was to be the kind of the anti-teacher, kind of the Jack Black character. If anybody's old enough to remember Mark Harmon in Summer School, like that's kind of my teacher persona. But as I got farther into it, I realized that I could really do a lot of restorative justice for kids that had been beat up by school and helping them change their self-image. And that drew me into pedagogy because I realized in my teacher credentialing program, they really didn't explain the reality of school. You know, we talked about platitudes and we talked about theory and Vygotsky and all that kind of stuff, but they didn't really say this is how you school. And I don't know if you guys have played any sports, but if you go play basketball, we've got the amoeba defense, we've got the weave. You know, there's a culture around how the thing is done. If you play some football, we got your 40, your nickel package. We got your 11 personnel, your 21 personnel. We're going to run some wing. We're going to run some run and gun. We got the Chicago Bear defense. There really isn't a thing like that in teaching. It really comes down to making kids be quiet and then making them do worksheets. And so imagine if professional football was literally just handoff in the A gap every play. You're not going to fill stadiums with that behavior.
Ooh.
Now, there's a group that likes it. The centers and guards like it because they're super important now. The fullback likes it, but nobody wants to watch. And so that's kind of my take on school is how can we come up with techniques, pedagogical practices that are a higher level? I'll throw out one more thing and then I'll pause. On my TikTok account, I put up a thing that said, research shows that highlighting, annotating, and rereading your notes is not effective. What is effective is reciprocal teaching, kids generating the questions, kids talking about the thing. And it was interesting. I posted that and I had several people say, but those things work for me. And I tell them they do. But when you try to get a bunch of 8th graders to fake that, it is horrifically ineffective. And so all I'm saying is it's not that taking notes is bad or highlighting is bad. It's that if somebody's making you do that, and so you end up faking it, it is not going to be effective. And I'll do my bad sports thing. I played football at Fresno State, gentlemen. I played D1. We were 16th in the nation my junior year. Okay. I still didn't work out in the off season because there was no coach there making me do it. So when they said, have you been running and benching? I was like, heck yeah. So I think that honesty of those tactics work, but what are we leading in class? And what is the technique that we're using that students are embracing and actively using? That's the subtle difference there. So all of that is kind of what birthed the idea of protocols, which is how can we make repetitions interesting? How can we reduce planning time? And how can we give immediate feedback? Because that's the deal. That's the genesis of the whole thing. Real work, real feedback, and not wrecking your nights and weekends with planning time. And that was really the genesis. And I'll shut up here for a second and let you guys.
Not a need to shut up, John. I am absolutely enthralled as a 20-year plus administrator. What is your secret sauce to make that happen? Think about this for a second. I get the comfortability of closing your door and doing your job as a teacher. Okay, I get it. I understand that. There is just a need for student engagement and moving the needle. What does that look like? How do you sell what you're saying to me right now?
Really easy. We've got a 4-word motto: teach better, work less. So I'm looking you in the eyes right now, Dean.
I love it, man. Bring it. Bring the fire.
How much did your test scores go up last year? And how many more kids passed at the end of the year than the beginning? Because most people are going to tell me I got 1 or 2 more to pass. And that's a pretty horrible payoff for 185 days or 230 days in Josh's perspective of work. Like imagine a football team. Dean, if you take over a football team that was 6-5, and next year you're 6-5, were you successful?
Not.
No.
Not happening.
But we put up with this in teaching all the time because
We do.
we've been led to believe that students, it's partially their fault for not listening or taking notes. It's the parents' fault for not speaking English as a first language or not paying for tutors. It's everybody's fault, but the teaching part, the pedagogy. And so what teachers go back to is, let's just put this in sports terms again. I got a sports team where I talk for an hour and 40 minutes every day, and then I make you guys work out silently for 20 minutes a day. And this week is offense only. No defense, no special teams. How is our game going to go, Dean?
It's not.
It's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad.
And then if it's bad, will your team now believe in you as a coach?
No. I'll tell you what. They'll
how's
start to
that gonna
disbelieve
go-
in everything.
How's that going to go 4 or 5 weeks into the season?
It's going to be problematic.
Yeah. And then what if we only practice offense for 3 weeks and then only practice defense for 3 weeks? How's that going to work out?
Not good.
So this is almost always what we do in class. And I like to highlight this piece. Most of our teachers in K-8, especially K-6, have this much training in mathematics. What percent of their end of the year assessment is based on mathematics? Half. It's ELA and math, bro.
It is. Those are your testable subjects.
So imagine hiring a football coach, unless it's Mike Leach, because all bets are off with him. Imagine hiring a football coach who has never played football, who has never coached football. And then you're going to give him your entire secondary and say, go get him. I have these handouts for you. You might want to have the guys do these worksheets on cover 2. How's that going to go, Dean? The guy's never played.
There's no teaching there. You're asking them to teach themselves.
Right. So what happens in math a lot of the times is it turns monolithic. We're going to focus on fractions. That's all we're going to do for the next 3 or 4 weeks is fractions. That's all we're going to do. We're going to be super focused. But in the meantime, we're not doing any division. We're not doing any geometry. We're not doing any decimals. We're not doing number lines, and we're not doing number lines because we're focused. Well, that's back to my football team that only practices offense for 4 weeks. You come back in 4 weeks and try to spin up the defense, you're going to take another week. So here's a fun fact. Not this year, but the year before, I went back to the classroom full time as a 6th grade teacher. I checked myself out of admin and I took a sabbatical from leadership and I said, I'm going to go dip my foot back in the water and see if the things I'm talking about are valid. So this is what evolved in my classroom, Dean. Now I'm self-contained at this point, so I need to put that. This is not departmentalized. So here's how I plan my year using an Eduprotocol's mindset. My principal hands me the papers. You know the papers. Here are your scores from last year.
Yep.
And I've got 9% passing coming in. Okay. So what we did was we went right away. Math is first because 9% passing in math is a disaster on wheels in 6th grade. But watch how my 90 minutes of math went. I started every day with math because that was the most rigorous thing for them. We would start off doing a protocol called the Fast and the Curious. The Fast and the Curious is basically what you would call calisthenics in a sports environment. If it's soccer, you run around the cones. If it's basketball, you're doing the weave, or it's just reps. So we would use WordWall or Blookit or GimKit. We do that for about 10 or 12 minutes. I would have the kids do one round for about 4 minutes. I would coach them on the most commonly missed 5 questions. So out of the 20 questions in our math facts, we would focus on the 5. We would go quiz, feedback, quiz again. Okay, we're routinely getting 10 and 15 points of growth a day. That would only take about 15 minutes. What am I correcting tonight, Josh? Nothing. The computer does the correcting, right? All right, then, class was bad at math. So Khan Academy has a new section they brought out last year called Getting Ready For. So we would spend about 15 or 20 minutes on getting ready for 6th grade in Khan Academy, in which in 5 domains, we were going to go through the whole preview of the whole year. We did that for about 20 minutes. Dean, what am I grading in Khan Academy? Nothing.
Nothing.
What's my prep time? Nothing.
Nothing.
So I've got 40 minutes of class every day that's responsive and giving feedback to kids, and I'm walking around drinking Starbucks while they're doing it. And I have planned nothing, and I'm correcting nothing. Then we move into another thing that we do in protocols called math reps. And math reps, if you haven't seen mathreps.com, really cool. Basically imagine that all I have to change every day is the number. Today's number is 875. We're going to add a tenth, we're going to add a hundredth, and we're going to add a tenth and a hundredth together. We're going to subtract a tenth, we're going to subtract a hundredth, and we're going to subtract a 1/10 from 100th. We're going to put one number that's greater, one number that's less. We're going to put it in word form. We're going to cube it. I'm going to do like 15 different operations. But here's the magic, you guys. Same thing every day. The only thing that changes is the number. So today we did 877. Josh, you pick. What's our number for tomorrow?
312.
Boom. Here we go. And Dean's like, good job, bro. You picked a small number. So now we've done our third activity. What's my prep for this activity, you guys? I just ask Josh for the number and I make my photocopies. Correcting is done in real time. I walk around and I go, that's not right. You did that yesterday. Watch that decimal. Same thing every day, but faster. Same thing every day, but faster. And then for my fourth activity, we might be getting ready for geometry, or we might be getting ready for decimals. And then in that case, we can do a good old Freyer model about decimals. And it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. And at the end, each kid shares what their work was with their table. And then their table shares their favorite one. You guys, what's my grading time?
It's right there. They're doing it for you.
So
That's
every
right.
day. Now, what was my entry level score of my math kids last year coming in? Do you remember the number?
9%.
What was my exiting level? 45%.
So you created student engagement.
No, I prevented student disengagement.
Bingo.
Students are naturally engaged. My job is to remove barriers.
Yes.
Giving them Jolly Ranchers only works for so long.
Good point. Good
Giving
point.
them licorice only works for so long. Giving them Corippo bucks only works for so long. Early, extra, or modified recess only works for so long. If they hate the work and they're not getting better, at some point it won't matter if I'm giving them cash. They'll be out. I can literally wave cash around and they're like, never mind, I'll take the D. And that right there is a pretty good example of teaching better and working less. I gave you guys 4 scenarios that we did in 90 minutes, no prep, because tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to crank up WordWall or Blooket. We're going to do the next level of Khan. We're going to do the same math rep, except Dean, you get to pick the number tomorrow. And then we're going to do a new Freyer on something that we're getting ready to do. So we're hitting like multiple storylines in this. It's not just division. We're previewing geometry. We're continuing on fact fluency, and we're rounding it all out with math reps. So that's what it looks like in real life.
So let me break it down a little bit here. So I grasp the concept that you're saying, and that's great. Especially those are great strategies for EL students.
Mm-hmm.
As I was hearing you,
and resource students, I had to do very little modification because everybody knew what was coming every day.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you have a pattern of behavior for learning, which is beautiful. And kids that are EL students and or special needs require that pattern of behavior, that structure that you're assessing the TEKS. We call it TEKS, the standards in our state.
I know all about the TEKS.
Gotcha. So we have that covered. Now, let's break it down a little bit further. And I can't let go of this one thing real quick. I highly agree with what you said earlier, because I remember in the Stone Age with my back in elementary when I was going in the 70s, I remember they had data walls with stars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a negative destruction for us because I never got that gold star, and it totally blocked me from learning the math.
Yep.
So and the thing is that we have a similar style of delivery even today. with
Yeah.
the rewards.
We've changed some things, but how is accelerated reader different than the gold stars? It's not.
It's not.
And so again, it's going back to the idea that our pedagogical approach is not very sophisticated. We couldn't put spinners on our 77 Chevelle, but it's still not a Tesla.
Right.
John, I'm stuck on a word you use called removing barriers. So that's something that resonates with me all the time. Every student deserves access to curriculum at their level, no matter what. Right. So removing barriers is a great buzzword. How do you ensure that that takes place in every classroom in a school?
First of all, I do a thing in my classroom called Smart Start. And over the first 3 to 5 days of class, we learn how to do all the activities in a very low cognitive model. But what I'm getting to do is I'm getting to know the kids.
Bingo. Relationships.
And so like my class last year, they were into llamas. So that's where I went. They wanted to talk about llamas all the time and Shrek. So I went there.
Bingo.
How did I know? I asked them, what's your favorite animal?
Love it. Love it. You connected.
We did an Eduprotocol called the thin slide. Have you guys ever been tired of waiting for kids to finish their slides? Right? Like, oh, I just need one more thing. I can't find the right picture. Well, the way that we do thin slides in Eduprotocols, it goes like this. Bro, you got 3 minutes. That's it. It's just like the NFL. It's a 3-minute warning. # panic now. I need one picture. I need one word of food your sister or brother should stop eating. Let's go. And it's not about making it perfect. It's about putting one picture and one word. And then I coach him a little bit. I'm like, Josh, that's a good picture, but watch this. If you did it this way, you can crop it and you can make it look cooler. Hey, Dean, I like what you did here, but let's try that spam in word art. What? So that's what we're doing all the time, so that when I hit week 2, I go like this. Complementary angle, thin slide, 3 minutes, # panic now. Let's go. And here's another old term thing I don't like. I don't like the term think time. So you ready? Dean and Josh, tell me the significance of Nadia Comaneci in the 1974 Olympics. I'm going to give you some think time. Bro, you got nothing. You can sit there.
I remember that, actually.
Well, no, I was talking 78. That was when she got the perfect tens. I'm talking 74.
That's what she did. You're right. I remember the name. I remember
so, do you see my point? Thinking about it won't help. Here's how thin slides work. Open up a blank tab, go to Google Images, type in Nadia Comaneci, see what you think is significant about her. Now they have the ability to look and think and work. We're going to teach like the internet exists, because kids sitting in a little circle just thinking about volcanoes or just thinking about complementary angles is not going to give me any higher order thinking. Because you know what Josh is thinking? He's thinking, don't pick me, don't pick me, don't pick me, don't pick me. And then when I pick him, he's like, oh crap, the cute girl's going to know I got nothing. And then you're dealing on the completely wrong part of the brain. Dig this. The Google is open. 4 types of volcanoes. Which is your favorite? 3 minutes, go. That's a totally different thing. And that's work time. And so the question was, how do I get kids acting like this? High acceptance of failure at the beginning. As long as you work. As long as you work, you're safe. Then we do it again. And then we do it again. And then on the 5th time, I go, now you've had your reps. Kick my butt.
I got to stop you for a second, because what you're doing is you are embracing the redo process. Now, most educators struggle because they give the lesson and they say, you should know this. Now, that's an ultimate no-no in my brain, especially being a middle school principal. You embracing the redos and the do-overs.
Let's do that in a staff meeting. I'm going to read the new bell schedule one time, and then I'm going to quiz you on it. You should know, Dean.
Everything. Nope. I love that, because I have the greatest teacher in my building is the one who embraces the redos. The highest student growth is under his umbrella. And I say it all the time.
Again, if anybody's got sports experience, Dean, when I played football at Fresno State, I'm at a D1 school. Most of the team is about 20 years old, 19 or 20. They've been playing football for 14 years in some cases. You know what we did the first play of the year? Triple reverse. No, no, no. You know what the first play of the year was? Dive at the A gap. And all the guys were like, when is the cool stuff? And the coach said, when you get the right stuff right, then we'll do the cool stuff.
Learn the system.
Guess what
Learn
they
the
said on
system.
defense? If you think we're going to blitz for the first 3 weeks, you are wrong. You are going to earn your starting position in the base defense. And if you can't do that, you don't need to worry about blitzing. And we don't have this kind of acceptance of failure at the school level. Another thing, and I don't know how high you guys went in sports, but my coach, Jim Sweeney, we had we did station rotations in college football. It's 5 minutes per station. It's not 5 minutes and 10 seconds. It's not 5 minutes and 40 seconds. It's 5 minutes because they had 20 stations set up. And they knew that if we went over 10 or 15 seconds on each station, we would not do 3 stations because we'd be out of time. And as a teenager, I thought, God, what the heck is with my coach? He's so freaking maniacal about this. But then I heard Dr. Pfeiffer about 30 years later say these words: frequency trumps duration when learning any new skill. So I'm just baking the failure in at a faster feedback cycle. And the way that students respond to this is they realize that there's no penalty for failure as long as they're playing hard. And then they realize that they're getting better. And then they say, dude, what else you got? And that is the removal of disengagement.
Now, John, let me ask you a quick question, because these are great ideas and strategies, best practices.
Mm-hmm.
It's a best practice for the runners, for the Gold Star teachers. You know, every author, every speaker has their term for a runner. All right. What about the person that is hesitant? The one that has been doing the same lesson plan for 30 years. I've been in this for 30 years. Yeah, but you've been teaching the same way for 30 years.
But it hasn't worked.
Exactly.
So
how do you get that across?
Do you appreciate the lack of return on your time investment on the weekends? What if I could show you a way that you did no work on the weekend and your scores were going through the roof? Would that be interesting to you? I just go into Tony Robbins mode. If you like the way it is, you don't need to do anything. But if you're saying on TikTok and Twitter that you're burned out and you can't believe what teaching's like and nobody believes you anymore, you might want to try different things. So the one I usually start with in detail, though, Josh, is I start with the fast and curious. And I tell them, let me come to your room for 20 minutes and I'll change your life. And so I don't do this after school. I do this with their own kids. True story, you guys. True story. I've had multiple classrooms go from 30 or 40% passing to 80 or 90% passing in 10 or 15 minutes, and then beg for more. And I do this. I look over at the teacher and I go, are they like that for you? And they go, no, they are not. And I go, that's not a talent. That's a technique. I'm using a different technique and I'm getting a different result. I've had at least 4 SPED aides crying last year in various classes. I pushed into 185 classrooms last year. 4 times the SPED aide is crying. And I go over and I go, hey, what's going on? And she goes, that little jerk never does anything and he just came in 3rd. What are you doing? How do you do this? They're crying tears of happy frustration because they know that that kid's got something in there. And the way that you get it in there is you change the rhythm and the tempo. Let me ask you that as a question. You're in the shower by yourself. Mozart's playing. Are you tempted to sing along? Probably not.
Nope.
But then Benny and the Jets comes off and you start singing. It's still a dude with a piano, you guys. What's the difference? Rhythm, tempo, rhythm, tempo. And you do that and you create a safe place to fail. I had a SPED student last year or year before last now in my class. 4 teachers told me before I hit my room the first day, they said, Jaden won't do anything. And the first thing I'm thinking is, why are you guys down on Jaden? Leave him alone. Jaden didn't show up for Zoom for the first 4 weeks of school. But I found out Jaden was a Minecrafter and a SPED student, and I started showing him how to play the games better. And we were playing a lot of Word Wall and Blooket and Quizzes. And he's a gamer, and he bought into that. Guess who had the highest score on the cumulative Latin roots final? The cumulative. Jaden destroyed the whole class. And part of the reason he destroyed the whole class is he chose to take notes on paper. Remember what I said a few minutes ago? I didn't make him take notes.
He chose.
He's doing it, and he makes a whole beautiful grid, because a lot of times our SPED students are on the spectrum, and I'll tell the teacher, I'll say, let me get this straight. Are you comfortable with Minecraft? And they're like, oh my gosh, no, that's so hard. Well, he doesn't want to do worksheets. If we can find a place in the middle, you might see how smart he is. So Jaden started taking notes because he wanted to. And the other kids are like, Jaden's cheating, Jaden's cheating. I go, dude, it's only Tuesday. You can take all the notes you want, bro. You ain't going to get that on Friday. And literally on Friday, the kids were tearing up their notes. They're like, Corippo, I don't even need these. That's because we repped it out. And
not only you repped it out, you valued relationships over content.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't get. You know, they get in front of those kids and they say, I got to race you to get through all these standards. And that's not going to win. It's never going to win.
Show me one person that got through the whole book and the kids improved. Now, they'll get through the whole book and they'll have A's and B's and C's, but that would happen anyway.
Sure.
How about this? When's the last time anybody shook your hand and said, Dean, thanks for getting through the whole book. Your kids were really better than the other kids.
Never.
So school has to have some of the same things that any good sports team would have. But you're right on the relationships. Think about this one too, Dean. Okay, ready for my fast survey, Josh? I want thumbs up, thumbs down. Ready? Your kid is a cheerleader. Does she have the cheerleading coach's cell phone? Your kid is in a youth group. Do they have the youth pastor's cell phone? Your kid is in FFA. Do they have the FFA teacher's cell phone? Your kid plays peewee football, volleyball, or is a go-kart racer. Do they have their coach's cell phone? Do they have their English teacher's cell phone? Done. Right there.
Wow.
Math. Do they have their math teacher's cell phone? Do they have their science teacher's cell phone?
Nope.
Wait, it gets a twist. Do they have their destination imagination teacher's cell phone? What the hell?
Now, John,
why is it that,
the runner teachers would give it?
Right.
The runner teachers, Gold Star teachers would give it.
Agreed.
We're talking about a generalization here.
Generalization, never.
Why is it that the academic people can say, hey, when it's 3, I'm out of here because I don't need to interact with you people?
They've been allowed to.
Yeah, that's all an aesthetic, and that's a culture. That's an aesthetic and a culture.
It's a great point.
My Fresno State football coach from 1985, I have his cell number. My college professor from advertising at Fresno State in 1989, I have her cell number. Don't give me this crap about, it's my time. You need to go work in movies if you think that's how teaching works.
I love that.
Teaching is a leadership position where you lead young adults to their best version of themselves. Now I'm going to get a little technical with you guys. If any of your listeners are like, well, John, that sounds great, but I'm still skeptical. Read The End of Average by Todd Rose. By the way, the author, Todd Rose, flunked out of college twice, and now he's a Harvard-level researcher. So let's get down with this whole thing about what school is or isn't. But the bottom line is the bell curve was invented by a guy named Sir Francis Galton in the late 1800s, Charles Darwin's cousin. And he invented the bell curve so that teachers could look students in the eye and say, you're not college material, and not feel conflicted. The logic was that these teachers are keeping the incorrigibles out of college to protect the British way of doing things, i.e. whiteness. And to this day, you're still going to see teachers that blame kids. I was talking to teachers about this. Hand goes up. What if an F is the grade they earned? What if that's the grade they earned? Okay. Well, let me tell you about a story. I got a D1 football coach at the faculty meeting, and my coach is listening to a conversation where the professors are bragging about how many kids don't get A's in their class because it's so rigorous. And my coach says to them, if I have a football team with 3 kids getting an A, I don't have to worry about being a football coach next year. My job is to make every player the best player they can be if we want to win any games. And the aesthetic of teaching just doesn't see it that way. The aesthetic of teaching says, I will be the filter to keep you people out of college. Another fun story. I was at high school. I got to open a high school from scratch with a couple of friends of mine. And we grew up from 30 kids to 500 kids over about 4 or 5 years. And the year that I knew that I was leaving, I said this in the teachers, in the last staff meeting. I said, I'm going to suggest that you guys give every kid an A this year. Give everybody an A. And you should have seen the disappointment across the room. How could we do that? How could we do that? Give them all an A. Give everybody an A. Just get everybody straight A's as a senior. Well, we can't. Why not? Well, what if they get to college and don't do well? What if they get to college and they're fine? Not my job. It is not my job to keep people out of things. It is not my job. The thing will keep it out themselves. We don't have to worry about screening college. What do you think somebody at UT is going to be like? Well, this high school keeps sending these low kids that don't make it. They don't care about your high school. They're not tracking that. And frankly, if it's happening a lot, you might want to change your instructional practice at your school. It could be a you thing if you're dramatically worse than everybody else. But imagine a sports team, any sports team. Can you imagine a high school coach saying, we would have won more games if I'd have had better players? You ain't going to be a coach like that for very long, brother.
Especially after they recruited them.
Yes.
Think about that.
Exactly.
You're gone before you start. John, that is
high school level. Even at the high school level.
I love what you're saying because you break it down to a systems approach, and across the board, all great schools have strong systems of allowing all students to access curriculum and be successful, no matter what they do. So thank you so much for really pioneering that. Talk a little bit about Eduprotocol. Why did you come across that? What led you to write book 1 and book 2?
Well, the protocols themselves started in 99. I was looking at a stack of 1,400 papers. At that point, I was a full-blown Harry Wong acolyte, and I was grading my papers every week. And I said, I can't do this for 30 more years. I love teaching. I love the kids. I love the interaction. I love the sports. I love being on campus. I work till 6 every night, and I love it. But I can't do this for 30 years. So I started looking at a system. So the first system was called 8 parts. And instead of teaching one part of speech per week, we teach all 8 every time. Which, think about this, Dean. If you do nouns for 1 week a year, how many weeks a year of nouns do you do?
1 week a year.
But in Corippo's class, you do all 8 parts of speech for 5 weeks, which means 5 weeks of nouns, 5 weeks of verbs, 5 weeks of adjectives. And then you write a fun paragraph based on the words from a funny picture. So it's a whole other party. So that was really one of the first protocols. And then over the next 12 years, I kind of squeezed out about 3 or 4 more. And then I met Marlena Hebern. She was my TOSA at Mariposa County Office of Education, which is, by the way, I was in charge of the educational piece of Yosemite National Park for a while. So that was fun. There's actually a K-6 school in Yosemite National Park, right by the waterfall, actually. So when we were both breaking up with that job, I basically told her, I go, you've got 20 years of teaching excellence. I've got 20 years of teaching excellence. If we get hit by a truck, this is all gone. So let's make it into a systematic way of teaching. And from there, it's just grown and grown. We're not exactly viral, but it just keeps a little bit more every couple of days, a little bit more, and now we've sold around 40,000 of the books.
Wow.
We've worked in hundreds and hundreds of school districts. I'm going to be down in Houston this year and maybe Leander. And the whole idea is that the way we teach right now, which is to talk a lot, collect a bunch of papers, yell at kids for not putting names on their papers, realizing half the papers were wrong, reteaching the next day, making the photocopies again, then buying something off Teachers Pay Teachers, we're starting to realize that's not a thing. It's a popular behavior, but it's not an effective way to enjoy your career. And so it just keeps, I love the lighting switch up, Dean. The whole idea was to codify it. And I was inspired a lot by my D1 football experience, which is every day we're doing 5 minutes of this, 5 minutes of this, 5 minutes of this. The first day is going to be a disaster, but by Friday, you're ready for ESPN. Here we go.
That goes right back to station learning, in my opinion. You know what? And you just keep doing the redundancy of that. And guess what happens with redundancy? It sinks in. It sinks in. I know it becomes mundane for some teachers, but at the end of the day,
that's where what we do, Dean, is we fold in a lot of the 4 C's. So there's memes and GIFs. Write 5 sentences about an emoji. That's a party. We have a variation of the Freire model called Word Up Wednesday. One kid does the Google definition. One kid rewrites that in their own words. One kid finds an image. One kid finds a meme. One kid finds a GIF. And those are all Word Up Wednesdays based on the words that I know from Monday and Tuesday that we're not doing on well on. So let's say there were 15 Latin roots and one of them was megalopolis. Dean and Josh and 2 other kids at your table, you'd have 5 minutes to do Word Up Wednesday and build that collaboratively. So it's exciting, it's interesting, it's efficacious, it's full of 4 C's. It's not just drill and kill doing it over and over again. It's doing it over and over again
with purpose,
with feedback, and with purpose. I just read in one of the books that's coming out, a friend of mine is finishing up the language arts version of Eduprotocols, and he said that his weight training coach taught him, activities are what you do to pass the time. Training is what you do to meet goals. And it struck him that a lot of times in schools, we're just doing activities to keep the kids quiet. Training is moving towards a goal. So we're training to write better paragraphs. We're training to write better reports. We're training to have better reading comprehension. Is very different than, here's a packet. Can you guys be quiet for a while? Because I'm grading some stuff from last period. That's not an effective way to run a classroom.
I love it, John. Thank you so much for saying that. And I'm going to play this over and over again at my staff meeting because this is important to hear. And again, what it does, it moves people out of their comfort zones. It moves you out because there are ways in which teachers can really engage students and allow all students to be successful with their learning. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Here's a really safe way to approach it. How many people have said in the past, I will never pay $5 for coffee? And yet, where are we?
We're at the $5 coffee.
Well, we're at the $7 coffee because I need
a in California, yes, man. We're still on the East Coast. We're $2 behind you.
But imagine that in the 1970s, for our younger listeners, there was a commercial by Folgers in which Jim wouldn't have a second cup. His wife's coffee was that marginal. No, please, no second cup. 1 cup is good for me. I can barely choke it down. That was the world of coffee in the 70s.
Right.
Look how far we've come with things like Dutch Brothers and Pete's, and we've moved the bar, but we haven't moved the bar in teaching. The bar in teaching is, I'm going to talk to you guys, and then I'm going to ask you if you listened on a worksheet. You guys, we can do better. We can do better.
Hey, John, right now, I mean, we could keep on going on because you got me engaged, but you know what?
We can do a round 2 in a couple of weeks.
For sure.
Absolutely. I want to hear round 2.
But before we get into that, it's crucial. You're looking on Twitter, all these teachers, all these administrators doing their summer reading. Mm-hmm. So, just real quick, if you're not on Twitter, you're not on social media, you still rent your movies at Blockbuster, and you're still buying your pants at Montgomery Wards. So put on the VHS and get on Twitter.
I'm going to quote George Couros, there's no need to teach alone anymore.
Right. So, John, where can they purchase your books? just to
Oh, there's
this
this webpage called the Amazon is pretty good. Barnes and Noble. It's even, this is funny to me, it's on Walmart.com. Whoever thought I would have something on Walmart.com?
nice.
Yeah, and you can get the ebook is like $9. And these books aren't really our life stories. There's anecdotes in there, but they're called field guides for a reason. They are how to do the thing. And if you're an administrator, Dean and Josh, you guys, when we shut down, send me your addresses and I'll send you the brand new version, which is called Deploying Eduprotocols. And it's how leaders can get their teachers to do it. But here's my favorite trick. I just do the protocols to teachers in the staff meeting.
Right. Exactly.
On teacher content. And then I go, oh, I just realized I accidentally taught you how to Iron Chef. You know, if you put in parts of a bug instead of SEL, you guys could totally do this now with your kids in class.
You're right.
Most definitely.
You're right.
Most definitely.
And so now that positions me as an administrator as the lead pedagogist. And probably of all the crappy things NCLB did to us, it moved the principal out of the position of being the lead pedagogist. If you have a school where you, the principal, do not understand pedagogy, you are only going to be there for a while before you move to your next school where you're only going to be there for a while.
That's right.
Because you cannot sustain a world where you're looking at spreadsheets with lagging scores or stalled scores and then not have a prescription. The only prescription is you got to move schools every 3 years. That's the only prescription.
John, awesome. Thank you for the home run that you hit tonight. You know, we had some people coming in. Coach Hurd, Principal Cafele joined us tonight. Thank you very much for them joining us, part of the Fantastic Four. But most importantly, thank you, John, for being here. Thank you for all those home runs you just hit. Now, they're not nuggets. They were home runs of best practices to help everybody. We appreciate your thoughts. We appreciate you being here. And most importantly, and we'd like to remind all our fans that we're not done today. Part of our PD continues on Thursday as we have week 5 of the podcast smash, where we have different podcasters joining us together, learning from 2122 and how we can use this free PD platform to ensure success, just like the ideas that John brought us today in 2223. Thank you very much, John. Dean, close us out. Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, if you're not following John, please do. Obviously, I love what you said. I am a high school basketball coach for 12 years. I get it. I understand the systems approach to things. We were successful because we cherished certain things and did them over and over and over again. And kids are malleable. Always remember that. If you believe in something and you really push what you believe in with them, they will learn. And again, it doesn't happen without relationships first, John. Thank you so much for lamenting that home. I think that's vitally important. Hey, John, any last words you want to say to our audience out there before we close down for tonight?
Yes, free lifetime tech support. If anything struck anybody, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on TikTok, jcorippo@gmail.com. I'm going to quote Mayor Fiorillo LaGuardia, his press secretary. They said, when is the mayor off? And he said, never. His work is his hobby.
John, I'll tell you what, thank you so much for saying that. And that's what separates you from the others. There's no doubt about that. Listen, again, thank you so much, John, for joining us. I'd like to do a series 2 with you in a couple of weeks, if at all possible. Let's take this to another level. I'm really interested in your book. I'm looking forward. I'm going to send you my information. I'm going to look to employ that as soon as I possibly can. Absolutely. But again, all you guys listening out there, please retweet this, reshare this. There's a lot of nuggets in here that'll only make us all a little bit better. Hey, that's all I have. Happy Independence Day to everybody out there. I hope tomorrow is a great day for everybody. If you didn't have your cookout today, have it tomorrow. But besides that, Josh, Thursday night, we'll rock and roll one more time. How's that sound? Does that sound good? Yes?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Let's kill it. All right. Thanks so much, John. On behalf of Josh, myself, thank you so much. Have a great week, everybody. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there. Hold on for 1 second if you can, John. We're going to end the broadcast right now.